Hello everyone and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets and drama. So I'm back for another Have Your Say video.
Could you shut up a second?
And this video is for All Stars 11 episode 10. So we're going to be recapping the episode, going through the results of the Have Your Say poll where you at home voted on if you actually agreed with the outcome of the episode. And we'll be talking about a little bit of slightly unrelated drama to do with Jorgeous calling out Courtney act, as well as Krystal Versace and the fallout that happened on the back of that. All that and more coming up in today's video, so let's get started. Also, before we start, can we just talk about how cinematic this background? Look at this lighting. Look how puss I look in this lighting.
Is this bitch for real?
Look at just how it falls on these very expensive RuPaul dolls and everything. I would just like an award for how great this looks. I mean, forget about Drag Race getting Emmys. Where's my damn Emmy?
In your dreams.
Oh, and if you like this background, make sure you do subscribe, because if you don't, then you hate me. Okay, so let's start by recapping the episode. Okay, so this is the first episode of the semis, and we all like a good semi, am I right?
Because you're a slut.
So this is obviously when all of the queens who made it through from their brackets all come together, and we like coming together, don't we?
Because you're a slut.
To then compete, and obviously there's 2 episodes of this, and then I think it goes on to the finale. Just as a very quick reminder, from bracket 1, we have Dawn and Akira C. Davenport. Then from bracket 2, we have Krystal Method and Silky Nutmeg Ganache. And then from bracket 3, we have 3 queens who made it through, not just 2, and that was Jasmine Kennedy, Sam Starr, and Kennedy Davenport. We also find out who the wild card pick is, which is chosen by the judges, and then those queens got their names taken out of, it wasn't really a hat as such, but one of those ball spinny things. A hopper, is that what it's called? And anyway, we find out that it is the homosexual gay homosexual herself, Joey J. We find out the main challenge for this first episode of the semis is the queens have to do what's called the Tell Me Something Good story time, which is basically the queens have to tell a story that's inspirational based on their lives. I will say I quite liked that this is an interesting challenge. They've not quite done this sort of thing before. They have done stories time before in terms of things like doing funny performances or telling some kind of story and whatever. I will just say in general though, for this particular challenge, I do think it suffered from the fact that RuPaul did not really give, I don't think, specific enough instructions. I think with this sort of challenge, we know that Ru wants it to be funny because RuPaul likes to do her laugh. So I think RuPaul should have just said, tell a story and make it funny. Because I think, unfortunately, a lot of the queens went down the more inspirational route and sort of tried to make it funny. And then other queens were trying to make it funny. So in general, it was just not my favorite challenge because I think the queens weren't given a good enough prompt to do it. Oh, and we also find out there's a bit of a twist in terms of figuring out who the bottoms are. The queens have to do the NVQ thing again, but it's actually the rater queen. So the queens themselves get to choose who are the bottoms of the week. I quite enjoyed this because it caused a little bit of friction and drama, but we all know that I am a messy, messy B word. Okay, so now let's go through the story performances in order in which they appeared. And first up, we had Dawn. I thought it was quite an interesting premise of the story about, tripping out, calling the police because you're tripping and all that kind of stuff. But I just think it just didn't really go anywhere. It wasn't funny. I know that wasn't the brief necessarily, but it just was kind of meandering a bit. This was one of my least favorites, so unfortunately it'd be a nay. In the Have Your Say poll, you voted 48.8% for just okay, which is pretty much 50%. Let's just call it 50%. I'm rounding up. Then 41.6% for nay, so that's a pretty big proportion, and only 9.7 for yay. After that, we have the gay homosexual gay, Joey J. I loved Joey. I thought she was the only one that genuinely made me laugh. I thought she had a really interesting concept that she kept sort of looking at the cards and then she'd walk over to the sound machine and press and some random sound would come out. I thought that was a really sort of funny ongoing gag. I do think the judges did mention she was looking at her cue cards a bit too much. maybe she was a little bit, but I also think it kind of added to it because I think she could have like looked at it and then pressed the button for like almost like she's so dumb that she had to look at what sound to press. I think that would have been a funnier way to go. But in general, loved Joey. She was the only one that made me laugh. She definitely gets a yay. In the Have Your Say poll, just a mere 94.5% of you said yay. Now again, we do not need to ask Katia to work that one out for us.
I didn't go to school for math.
I think that's very much the majority. 5.1% said just okay, and then a tiny slither of you said nay, and it's so much that I can't even see it. Moving on, we have Jasmine Kennedy. I thought Jasmine's story was interesting, but she definitely went down the more inspirational route. It wasn't very funny, and I think although it was a nice story, it kind of was a bit meh for me. She looked great though. I really liked her outfit. I thought she definitely was serving it, and that was also part of the story. So it was a nice sort of through line about, trying on makeup and then sort of looking like this. I would love to look like that, but I do think it was a little bit meh, so I would give it a just okay. In the Have Your Say poll, 48.6 said just okay, then it was 38.9 for yay. I would agree, it was more a just okay, but more on the yay side for me, and then 12.5 for nay. After that was Kennedy Davenport. I just didn't really understand this story. I understood the premise of it, and she did say at Roscoe's this is a true story. I just didn't really see where the inspirational part came from. I didn't think it was very funny. I think the funny bit maybe was supposed to be her like with the belt and that sort of story. I don't know, it just didn't really land for me. I did not think it was funny at all. I also just thought the way she told the story, I kind of was getting a little bit confused of like, who was the principal, who was the mother, and it was like, I don't know, I just got a bit confused. Personally, I didn't laugh. This was probably my least favorite, so I would give it a nay. In the Have Your Say poll, 79.7% said nay, which is almost 80%, so quite a few. Then 18.6 for just okay, and then only 1.7% said yay. Next up was Silky Nutmeg Ganache. I thought Silky's story was okay. It was kind of similar story about like basically getting whooped like for being bad or whatever. I think her story maybe was like slightly more, there was a bit more cohesion to it and I could see a bit more of a through line in it and it was a little bit more entertaining, but still was not the best in my opinion, so I think it would be a just okay, but only just about. In the Have Your Say poll, 51.1% said just okay, then it was 31.7 for yay. I don't know, I would have personally given it more towards the nay side, but whatever. And then 17.3 did vote for nay though, which is still quite a decent amount, but I did think that yay and nay would be flipped in this. After that was Akiria C. Davenport. I thought this was quite an interesting and like wacky story about the time when she went to get pumped and it's like her mum took her to go like to get all the different needles from like a pet store and all this kind of stuff. I thought that was kind of really bizarre and it almost sort of really captured my attention because it was so bizarre. I do think the actual storytelling itself, though, it didn't really sort of weave together for me. I was a little bit lost as to what was happening. I also thought the bit where she went behind the screen didn't really make much sense and I was a little bit lost. So unfortunately, although I thought it was actually kind of an interesting story, it wasn't funny and I don't think she actually told the story that effectively. So I probably would give it a just okay. In the Have Your Say poll, nay actually just about came out on top with 46.9%. Just okay got 46.5%, so there's a tiny fraction of a difference between the two. And then 6.6 for yay. Then penultimately we have Sam Starr. I think Sam chose quite a relatable story about not being good at sports as a little gay boy and stuff. I mean, I would obviously not be able to relate to that because I am very good with balls.
When I'm good, I'm good. But when I'm bad, I get a serious venereal disease.
But I think the bit where she was kind of like kicking the balls and missing it and all that kind of stuff, I thought that was a funny enough gag. It wasn't groundbreaking, but it was perfectly fine. So it would have been, in a sea of not very good performances, this was slightly higher in my opinion than some of the others, so I would give it a just okay. In the Have Your Say poll, although just okay did come out on top with 63.9%, I was kind of surprised at how much yay and nay were split. Personally, I thought it was more yay than nay. It was 19% for yay, but then 17.1 for nay, so it's not actually that different in terms of that split. I personally did think it was at least, I maybe chuckled once, which is more than a lot of the other people, so the bar is very low. It's actually low enough that she would have been able to kick that ball over it. And finally, we have Krystal Method. I firstly love that Krystal is dressed as like the wackiest gay pirate I've ever seen. I actually love this outfit. Nothing to do with the story. It's just totally random, very Krystal. I thought the actual story itself was really interesting about, being on the bus and being too scared to speak up and you then don't get off at your stop. And I feel like we've all maybe done that. I feel like I definitely had that when I was on the school bus. Unfortunately, I didn't look quite as fabulous as Krystal does. But I don't think it was really that funny. I think she told the story really well, though. Out of everyone, she maybe hooked me in the most in terms of how she was actually telling the story. It wasn't really that funny though, but compared to a lot of these others, I would give it a yay because I enjoyed it. In the Have Your Say poll, 52.8% of you said yay, which we'll get onto this later, but I think that's quite telling in terms of who won this episode and who we think should have won this episode. Then it was 41.9% for just okay, so that's almost just as much as yay. And I would agree, it was a yay, but more towards the just okay side. And then 5.3 for nay. So, hark at you. I said whose story hour is the best. And this is me doing a story, I think. And you voted 80.5% for Joey J, which is insane. I don't know if we've had that much of a landslide in this particular question for a long time. Then it was 10.4 for Krystal Method. So even the person in second place only just scraped 10%. And then all the others were pretty non-existent, but it was technically joint third, Jasmine and Silky with 3.2%. I definitely agree. Joey was the only one that made me laugh. Again, I know some of you will be in the comments like, blah, 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 blah. They didn't say it had to be funny, but we know that that's the subtext of everything on Drag Race pretty much is make it funny because Ru likes to laugh. And I just feel like the only person that vaguely did that was Joey J. Everyone else slightly failed. So I think it was very obvious that Joey kind of won by default because she was the only one that did actually make it funny. Okay, so let's go through the runways for this week. And the category was Red Carpet Realness. And going in order in which they appeared, first up is Dawn. I really like this. It's a beautiful color. I love that. I think they call it sea foam. I've been reliably informed from last week when I mentioned what this color was and I thought it was turquoise.
Turquoise.
But people kept saying it was sea foam. I don't know what sea you're looking at because when I'm foaming, I don't look this color, but I wish I did. But I do really like this classic outfit, beautiful color. I would give it a yay. In the Have Your Say poll, pretty much 3/4 of you, 74.4%, 3/4 would be 75%, just in case you were wondering, said yay. Then it was 22.4% for just okay, and then 3.2 for nay. Next up is Silky Nutmeg Ganache. I think this is nice. It is very much kind of like sparkly black dress, groundbreaking. It's sort of, we've seen it a million times before, but it looks good. It's pretty. It's all, black dress always looks nice on pretty much everybody. So I think I would give it a soft yay going into just okay, because it is a little bit simple. In the Have Your Say poll, 54.3 said yay, 37 for just okay. Yeah, I would agree with that sort of proportion. And then 8.7 for nay. Next up is Krystal Method. Now, I don't know what red carpet she's going to, but I would love to be on this red carpet because this is crazy wacky. I love this so much. I think it could look almost like too wacky and the colors could be too much, but somehow she made it work. I really love this. It's like a cartoon come to life. It's very much Krystal Method. I think it's really well tailored. I love the proportions and just how wacky it is. So definitely it's a yay. In the Have Your Say poll, I was surprised maybe this didn't actually get more. 70.4% for yay, which is obviously good, but just okay still got 21.8%. Maybe people felt like because it's not a gown, it's not red carpet. Don't know. And then 7.8 for nay. After that, we have Kennedy Davenport. I think this, again, is a very pretty dress, but very simple. It does look like something we've seen before on the runway, maybe even from Kennedy, but it's a nice dress, nice color, but again, a little bit more on the kind of simple, predictable side, so I'd give it a just okay. In the Have Your Say poll, 52.6 for just okay, then 35.5 for yay. I agree, that's the kind of right proportions for me, and then 12% for nay. Next up is Akira C. Davenport. This outfit is so cool. They did mention this in the actual episode itself, but this is based on a Mugler alien dress is what it's called, which I can definitely see the reference now. I know, obviously because I have a PhD in fashion, we did study this at my fashion university.
It's fashion? Is it wait, but is it fashion? It's fashion.
But I really liked the way she interpreted this. The fact that she made this is amazing. She talked about this at Roscoe's. If you haven't watched my latest Roscoe's recap, then go slap yourself in the face, then go watch it and slap yourself again because you didn't watch it. But she said that she made this in, I think, a month or so it took her to make this, and she repurposed it using the scales and sequins from a previous outfit from her original season. So that is incredible. Is it just me though? But this pattern in the middle, when you look at it, it kind of reminds me of the cockerel or the chicken from, is it Moana or something? Or just a cockerel in general. It's got like the two eyes and then like the bit in the, like the cresty thing. I don't know, whatever it is that roosters or cocks have. That's the only thing I did think it was slightly that way, not alien, but really beautiful look. I would give it a yay. In the Have Your Say poll, I again was surprised this wasn't actually more. So 74.6 said yay, so almost 3/4. I thought it would be a bit higher than that though, because it is an amazing look. And the fact she made that, I think she gets extra points for that. 18.2 for Just Okay, and then 7.2 for Nay. After that, we have the flaming homo herself, Joey J. I like this outfit. I don't think it's really reinventing anything, though. It is a little bit kind of, it's been done before. The bit where it was sort of like the straps holding onto the dress and everything was interesting. At least it gave it a slightly different dimension and stuff. It was kind of fine, but nothing to write home about. So I would give it a yay / just okay. In the Have Your Say poll, you were obviously less harsh than I was. Maybe I'm just a bitch.
I just don't get why people don't like me. Yeah, because you're a bitch.
61.5 said yay. Then it was 34.3 for just okay, and then 4.2 for nay. Then penultimately we have Sam Star. I'm not the biggest fan of this dress. I mean, it is obviously a nice gold color, gold dress, you know, not exactly reinventing the wheel, but there's something about the fit that's a bit off for me. It's kind of tight in some places, too loose in other places, kind of doesn't really give her much shape. I don't know, there's just something unflattering a little bit about it. So I would have to give this a just okay, maybe even going into a nay. In the Have Your Say poll, interestingly, 47.6 did say just okay, so you agreed with me. Then it was actually 28.1 for nay, so you actually disliked it more than you liked it. But actually 24 said yay, so between yay and nay it was kind of split. Personally, I would give it more of a nay. I was surprised that almost a quarter, 24.3% of you actually liked this, but who knows, maybe I just have no sense of fashion.
That's for damn sure.
And finally, we have Jasmine Kennedy. I think it's a nice look. I think it's quite an interesting shape, and you got the blue with the white. It's very kind of just two tones. I think it creates a very interesting silhouette. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the blue in the hair. I don't know why. There's just something, I know it's like to tie in with the blue, but there's just something about it just doesn't quite work for me. Other than that, though, it's a perfectly nice look. So it probably would be a yay, but a soft yay. God, am I just being really harsh this week? Am I the drama?
Is it me? Am I the drama? I don't think I'm the drama. Maybe I am. Am I the villain?
Absolutely.
In the Have Your Say poll, you voted 45.7 for yay, then 39.7 for just okay. So maybe I'm not actually too far off base. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time. And then 14.6 for nay. So I asked you whose red carpet look gets a slay, and you voted Akira C. Davenport with 33.2%. Then it was Krystal Method just behind with 24.9%. And then the rest of them were all kind of split, but Dawn was technically third with 16.3%. Again, I'm going to do a Natalie and Brulia. I'm very torn. I did really like Krystal's because it was just so wacky and interesting, and I'll probably remember it more in a lot of ways because it's just so unusual. But I think I would still have to give it to Akira because firstly, she made it. And the fact that she made something that was that amazing, I was like, that's just mind-blowing to me. But it is actually a really cool look. So we find out the winner chosen by RuPaul is Krystal Method. I asked you in the Have Your Say poll, do you agree with the winner? A staggering 79.3% said no, and 20.7% said yes. So of that almost 3/4 of you, I said, who do you think should have been the winner instead? Again, an absolutely mind-numbing 91.4%. Now I'm going to repeat that, 91.4%. Now I'm no mathematician, but that is a frickin' lot, said Joey J. And then all the others were pretty much nothing, but it was 3.3 for Silky and 3.1 for Jasmine. I 100% agree. The fact that RuPaul did not give it to Joey, I genuinely, my flabbers were gasted. I could not believe it. I was watching this with my boyfriend. We both kind of did the slow head turn of like, what did she just say? I could not believe it.
Mimi, I'm first, was number 3 in the voting. I could not believe it.
I just did not see what RuPaul was thinking this week. I thought Krystal was fine, but Joey was by far the funniest. Joey was also the only one that actually made RuPaul laugh, and like, I don't know, I don't know what RuPaul is smoking, but she needs to smoke a little bit less of it. Okay, so then comes time for the queens to decide who's going to be the bottom 2, and this is in the Rater Queen. So let's go through the results of the Rater Queen. I'm going to put all of them up on screen. It's quite a big form. You know, we all love a big form, am I right? But we're going to go through each of them. These are in alphabetical order because on Google Forms, I don't know how to sort them in any other way, so you're going to have to just deal with it. And these are ranked from 1 to 8, 1 being the best performance and 8 being the worst. So starting with A'keria, she definitely got the most in kind of the 6-7 category. Oh, 6-7. Apparently that's a thing the young people say. Krystal then definitely did get second place, I would say, because the most in number 2. Dawn was pretty spread out, which I was surprised at because I would have put her near the bottom, but she did get more votes near the end. Jasmine, again, was kind of slightly more in the middle, more towards the kind of like 3, 4, 5 category. Joey J definitely got number 1, and Kennedy definitely got number 8. I mean, there's no question about that. Sam Star was more kind of around the 5 position. Silky, again, being kind of spread, but maybe more towards the front when I thought she would be. So it is pretty obvious where you would have ranked people, but some of the results surprised me more than others. Okay, so we find out that the bottom 2, as voted by the Rater Queen, are Kennedy Davenport and A'keria C. Davenport. So Kennedy and A'keria lip-synced the song Nobody's Supposed to Be Here (Dance Mix) by Deborah Coates. And we find out the winner is A'keria C. Davenport, which means, unfortunately, Kennedy Davenport is eliminated. In the Have Your Say poll, I asked, who do you think won the lip sync in your opinion? A pretty strong result. 76.3 said A'keria, with only around a quarter, 23.7, voting for Kennedy. This was an amazing lip sync. It was such a great song choice, such an amazing 2 queens to do that. I think they definitely showed you don't have to do loads of tricks and splits and stuff. You just have to like feel the emotion of the song. I was definitely hooked watching this. I do agree. I think A'keria did do a slightly better, but it was very close in my opinion. Okay, so moving on to the last 2 questions. Question 8 was, who do you think will win the season? Now, this was an absolute landslide. This is by far the biggest we've had so far, and we all like it good and big, am I right? 89.6% said Krystal Method, so no one else even came slightly close to that. That's pretty much 90%, which is insane. 4.3 was the next one, which was for Silky, and then after that, they were all pretty much nothing, but 2.7 for Joey and 1.5 for Dawn. But slightly more interestingly, question 9 was, who do you want to win the season? Now, this was very different because Joey J got 51.6%, which was more than anyone else. Then it was Krystal, but only with 20.7%, which is nowhere near the almost 90% of you who think she will win. And then after that, it's pretty much split between all the queens with not that much, but Dawn is technically third with 9.7. And I definitely agree. I think 100% I can't see anyone else winning apart from Krystal. I just think the way she's been kind of pushed from the start, and that doesn't mean that she doesn't deserve it, because I think she does. I think she's a great queen, but I think they've made it quite obvious who's going to win. And I just think that the fact that I have a lot of thoughts about this particular outcome, but we are going to move on to my comments because a lot of this kind of aligns with what I was thinking. We'll start with my Patreon comments. If you want your comments featured as a priority, you can also join my Patreon or also my YouTube membership, and you get access to things like early access to my videos, getting your comments featured in my videos, as well as things like submitting questions for interviews or content that I don't post on YouTube. For example, I just posted the stuff from my recent Roscoe's that was left out of the actual video because it would have been too long. And if you do want to join my Patreon or my YouTube membership, there will be links in the description and the pinned comment. So starting with my patron, Nikki said, Silky's confessionals during Kennedy's story was the best part of the episode. I was laughing so hard when she had her fake sign up. And then gagged Kennedy went home, but it pains me to say I think the bottom 2 may have been correct. And my patron, Deb, says something kind of similar, saying Kennedy going was a gag. I agree in a way that I was gagged. I think she was the worst, but I didn't think she was. I actually thought A'keria might go just because I thought Kennedy had a slightly stronger storyline. But I do wonder if it was because of the A'keria Silky drama that they kept Silky over Kennedy. But interestingly, another one of my Patreons, Elizabeth Ann, actually replied to Debs's comment about saying it was a gag that Kennedy went home, saying, yeah, they absolutely got me. I went from assuming this was Kennedy's season to getting gingered, as in ginger minge, so being rigged for her. Then it began airing and I was like, oh, okay, they are going to be subtle about it. And now I oop. So I agree. I do think a lot of people thought that Kennedy was going to get pushed to the end a little bit like Ginger Minge last season. So I feel like they are definitely not saying that anymore after this episode. Now let's move on to the comments from the Have Your Say poll. Now, a lot of the comments, a lot, were about, as you can imagine, the gay Joey J. Now, a lot of people were saying things like, Joey J robbed again, it's getting tiring. It's weird that Joey got the most laughs by far, but she didn't win. Was that not the challenge to make them laugh? I'm so tired of the judges playing in Joey's face. She connects with Rue in the workroom, has her cackling during her performance, and has a beautiful runway. That part... It's fine. What more do they want? But I do agree in general that I was gagged. That's gagged, by the way. That Joey was not the winner this week. She was the only one that made Rue laugh. Rue was literally screaming, laughing in hers compared to anyone. No one else got that kind of treatment. So I do wonder if this is like some kind of like psychological torture just to try and... I wonder if they're trying to get like the Jan face crack from Joey, but I'm really surprised that Joey didn't get any wins on her bracket, even though she arguably should have. They brought her back as the wild card and then she didn't get it. My only theory, if I'm putting my little kind of like conspiracy theory hat on, my tinfoil hat, is... I do wonder if they're trying to push Krystal to be the winner. If they'd given Joey J the win this week, it would have kind of undermined Krystal as being the front runner. So we'll see what happens next week. But I do wonder if Krystal's also going to win next week, or at least be high. So it then makes sense for her to then be the winner, because everyone will be like, oh, well, she did really well in the semis. Whereas if Joey had won this one and then didn't win the season, but Krystal did, I wonder if that would have caused some problems. But that's just me and my theories. I also just wonder if RuPaul secretly hates Joey J. Maybe RuPaul is just completely homophobic and hates the gay Joey J, because what other reason can there be? It's like, literally, what more do you want, RuPaul? But anyway, let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think that it is just like production trying to get a face crack moment? Do you think that they're just not featuring Joey at all? Or let me know all of your wild theories in the comments. Okay, so finally we're moving on to a bit of recent drama that happened sort of on the back of All Stars 11, which involves Jorgeous calling out Courtney Act as well as Krystal Versace and the fallouts from these situations. So this all started after Jorgeous recently appeared on the pit stop for All Stars 11. I did mention this in my last Roscoe's recap, which I'll link to in the description. But basically what happened was Jorgeous made a joke about Kennedy Davenport's food being too salty. Then Kennedy clapped back on Twitter and said she was offended that Jorgeous criticized her food and had never said it to her face. Because of this drama, clips of Jorgeous on the pit stop were making the rounds on social media, and on Instagram, Courtney Act commented on a video of Jorgeous, and Courtney said, unrelated, but why don't drag queens have nostrils anymore? Why is this a trend? It doesn't make sense. I don't understand why everyone shades their nostrils into their cheek highlight and just has 2 stripes of contour up their nose like lane markings. Bring back nostrils. This comment then went a bit viral on social media, and someone tweeted a photo of both Jorgeous and Courtney, saying that Jorgeous needs to listen to Courtney's makeup advice. Jorgeous then called Courtney out in an Instagram story where she reposted this Twitter post, and Jorgeous said, like I would never take makeup advice from a brick that looks like a brick in drag. Bring back good drag, Courtney, at Courtney Act. Jorgeous also posted a screenshot of her Instagram story on Twitter as well, and Willem commented saying, this is why RuPaul blocked her. Just to explain that reference in case you don't know, Courtney has revealed in the past that RuPaul blocked her on social media after Courtney criticized RuPaul and the show. In fact, I did see that recently Courtney shared a story on Kelly Mantle's podcast where Courtney confirmed that Ru knows that she blocked Courtney and confirms that she doesn't like her.
There was a conversation, there was a challenge on season 6 where we had to hold up a paddle that said female or she-male. And I was like, oh, here's a great opportunity. RuPaul's going to really respect this. I'm going to like write a Facebook post, very thoughtful, write a Facebook blocked. Todrick Hall and I were filming some videos together. And I told him about the blocking and he was like, this must be a mistake. Let me message Ru. Ru called him. And Todrick was on the phone to Ru for about an hour. What? Just pacing back and forth outside the room. And Todrick came in and he was like, well, it wasn't an accident that she blocked you.
Oh my God.
And she knows that we're friends. And so she asked that I don't go into the details, but she did say that I could tell you, I just don't like you.
Anyway, going back to the Jorgeous situation though, after Jorgeous called Courtney a brick, people then started criticising Jorgeous, saying that out of all of the queens that she could call a brick, Courtney is not one of them. In fact, Courtney clapped back at Jorgeous and reposted her Instagram story where she called her a brick and said, @Jorgeous is stunning and beautiful, but me, a brick? You must not be getting enough oxygen to your brain through those teeny tiny nostrils. Other queens also got involved in this discourse. For example, Briar Blush responded to a Twitter post about what Courtney had said about Jorgeous's makeup, and Briar said, I love her and she's gorgeous, but nothing she could possibly say about makeup and drag body would mean anything to me personally. Courtney replied saying, this is a fair and valid comment, and Briar said, your mother for real and especially for me. A while later, Courtney posted a video on social media where she was seemingly poking fun at the Jorgeous nose contour situation.
I can barely breathe. Oh, no nostrils. It's really great for allergy season because no nostrils means no hay fever.
Courtney also addressed the situation again recently when she appeared on Trinity the Tuck and Chantel Sparkle's podcast.
Miss Jorgeous calling me a brick couldn't have been, you know, it was the perfect comeback for me. This is, she could have commented on the body being brickish, but I feel like, you know, there's some things that we have that we know, and that is one of them for me.
Since then, it doesn't look like either of them have addressed this situation anymore, but people online have been commenting, saying that this is such a silly, low-stakes feud, and it's funny to watch. However, this was not the only beef that Jorgeous has been involved in recently. Back in June of this year, Drag Race UK Season 3 winner Krystal Versace posted a YouTube video called Ranking the Muggiest Drag Race Queens. In the video, she looked at several queens' makeup and then ranked them in categories such as Bricka Morris and She's Going Through Something Fierce, and Krystal also read quite a few of the queens. This video caused quite a stir, and several of the queens mentioned in the video commented about what Krystal said about them on social media. For example, Morphine Love Dion was in the video and was put in the category of She's Going Through Something Fierce, and Morphine then posted her own video on her YouTube channel called I'm Going Through Something Fierce. Krystal then did a part 2 video where she ranked even more queens, and she mentioned Athena Dion, and she put her in the Bricka Morris category, and said that Athena looked, quote, crazy and crunchy. Athena seemingly responded to this by tweeting saying, if I looked like this out of drag, I would have needed to learn better makeup techniques too, but I don't, thank God. Lord blessed me with a gorgeous face even in my old age. Hashtag Bricka Morris. And she included a gif of Gollum from Lord of the Rings, presumably meaning Krystal. Willem then commented on Athena's post and said about Krystal, that pumped monster sold under 10 tickets for her, quote, crowning tour at the Clapham Grand after she won. Nobody wanna pay to see her. We know what we are and she could never. However, going back to Jorgeous, she was mentioned in Krystal's video, and Krystal had ranked Jorgeous in the She's Going Through Something Fierce category. Jorgeous then replied to someone's post talking about Krystal's ranking video, and Jorgeous said, what @Krystal Versace needs to do is rank the blackest white girls because all she knows how to do is reach for the darkest shade of foundation. Happy Juneteenth, Krystal. oh wait, LMAO. Now, this comment is presumably because Krystal has been criticised in the past for using makeup that is too dark, and she's been accused of doing blackface or blackfishing, similar to how Raven has also been accused of doing the same thing. I did actually talk about this in a previous video, so I'll link to that in the description. This comment by Jorgeous, though, brought up the topic again of Krystal and the allegations of blackfishing. And a few Drag Race queens actually commented on Jorgeous' tweet about Krystal, such as Lana Jure, Morphine Love Dion, and Kenya Pleaser. There were also many other comments from people saying that they're glad that someone has clocked Krystal for what she's doing with dark makeup because it's not okay. So it appears that Jorgeous has been involved in several different beefs recently, and they are sort of interconnected. And so far, that seems to be the end of all those situations, and although most of these were pretty benign situations to start with, we'll have to wait and see if any more comes of them in the future. But as always, please remember that these videos are just for entertainment and informational purposes to keep up to date with what's going on in Drag Race, but please do not send hate to any of the queens involved, and act responsibly in how you consume this type of content. So there you go, there was the Have Your Say for All Stars 11 episode 10. What did you think of the first episode of the semis? And what do you think of All Stars 11 overall compared to All Stars 10? Which one of them have you enjoyed the most so far? If you'd like to get your comments featured in my videos, as well as early access, exclusive content that you can't watch anywhere else, please check out either my Patreon or my YouTube membership. You can check out either, there will be links to both in the description, but it's a great way to support the channel, but also get yourself some extra content. I'd also like to say thank you so much to my amazing, amazing Patreons. Your support means the absolute world to me. I really, truly mean it. Thank you so, so much. It's so humbling to have so many of you supporting me and all the lovely messages and everything. It is truly amazing, and I have no words other than thank you, thank you, thank you. Please make sure you like and comment on this video to help tell the algorithm this is a great video and they should share it with more people. And please make sure you smash that subscribe button and help me get to my goal of 150k subscribers as soon as possible. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll join me in the future for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets, and drama. Thank you so much. Bye.